Hello and welcome to another episode with your boy, your host, the Real Shot 256. This is Evening Crypto, and wanted to pop in here and talk about what's been going on lately. Are you guys nodding your head right now about everything that's been going on with the market? Are some of you startled by all of this madness? Talking about traditional markets and commodities more than anything. Oil went crazy today. Oil futures contracts went crazy. The good thing is the expiration date was today, so those futures contracts for oil are done. It was probably all over the news, and you probably caught this piece of news just by maybe going on Facebook, Twitter, wherever. I mean, it's all over the place, right? Just kind of like coronavirus being the main subject around every conversation. Oil kind of took its place today, which was sort of relieving and nice to see. Not that I want oil to, to disappear or anything. I don't. I think it's obviously an essential, one of those essential, one of those buzzwords that's become essential, right? The word itself, essential. It is an essential commodity, and we definitely don't want that market or oil to disappear. Although Tesla's doing a pretty good job at, you know, um, what's the word? Threatening the oil industry. Anyway, we're still years away from that, but did want to pop in here and talk about what happened today. The madness. You guys are probably, shaking your head one way or the other about everything that's been going on. I mean, definitely a rude awakening to this Monday for sure. Traditional markets went slightly up, but then as the news started to break out that oil markets started to crash, futures markets started to crash. Um, Basically, there's no more room to stockpile. There's no more room to store barrels of barrels of crude oil, and so these refineries are having to turn away the crude. Now these drillers now they don't have anywhere to place their oil, their crude oil. So they were essentially paying customers, buying customers, they were paying them to get rid of their oil, but customers were like, "Well, with this coronavirus thing, there's no demand for oil. Nobody's really driving. Everyone's staying home. Prices are already cheap. There's a stockpile everywhere. We don't know what to do with all this oil." So, basically, drillers were having to say, "You know what? I'll pay you. I'll pay you to take these barrels away from me." And the market is just so saturated with oil right now. You got the Saudis and the Russians, pumping the crap out of oil. That we just have a big huge surplus, and we don't know what to do with it. That is that is well. I mean, just just take a second for there and just analyze that. You know, we have so much oil we don't know what to do with, right? To the point that it's super saturated. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants this. It's like imagine, another commodity like gold. Going to prices, close to zero. It's almost unfathomable, but it's here. It's happening. It's definitely something that another another fatality, another casualty by 2020. I mean, this year has just been absolutely ridiculous, um, left and right, unprejudiced, just going after every industry. My goodness, just a crazy, crazy year. You've seen the 2020 memes, right? I sure have. There's some funny memes out there about this. Anyway, tell me what you guys think. I'm glad these contracts are done and over with for the effective May, but they're saying that these it might be a ripple effect. The June contracts were still looking pretty healthy. July, August, September, they were all looking pretty healthy, but I don't know. We'll see tomorrow, opening of a new month's, I guess June's contracts as of tomorrow, and we'll see how those are affected. We'll have to see tomorrow. But the market, sort of um, topped earlier today when the news broke out that futures contracts were in the negative. We seem to have we opened lower than we did. Traditional markets opened lower than they did on Friday, where we ended the week. Actually, get in here and take a quick look. So we opened at the S&P opened at 2845, lower than what it closed and opened. Oh, actually, that kind of opened. They overlapped, right? But but it did open a bit on the lower side today, and we ended the day even at a negative, right? And we ended the day at 1.8 negative, right? So this on the news of oil markets, right? So we'll do a little bit of analysis here, and a little bit of fortune telling is what you guys like, I hear. So we'll do a little bit of that. Not that this channel is predicated on telling the future at all. Go somewhere else for that. Let's do a quick recap of the crypto markets too. Let's not forget about them. And we're currently sitting at 198 market cap, 146 billion in the last 24 hours. As we do see, pretty much every coin starting to correct downwards, have a negative reaction to today's price action. And there's just been a lot of correlation, right, between crypto markets and traditional markets. We've been talking about this for the last few episodes. There's just been a lot of correlation. Almost hand in hand, right? What S&P and Dow or NASDAQ, whatever they're doing, Bitcoin and crypto is also doing. So, try to use this to your advantage, right? If one's doing one thing, then you know that the others probably are going to follow. And this is a trend, right? Just like any other trend. So as long as this trend remains intact, then you could use this to your advantage. It's just another tool in your belt that you can always refer to when playing these markets. So let's talk about some of these traditional market plays. I do want to highlight again, I think one of the last videos I did, I was talking to you guys about what traditional stocks should be getting a lot of play, should be getting a lot of attention. And we did do an emphasis on airlines, but we also mainly did it. And what I want to highlight today is we did a big sort of not a big segment, but just we spent plenty of time on some biopharmaceutical tech plays, right? Or not tech, but biopharmaceutical plays. In the stock market, we talked about INO, which was up today to the tune of about earlier today was all the way up to about 13%, but it finished the day at a strong 10%. Not a bad day for traditional stocks. It's actually a pretty darn good day. We talk about Moderna, however you say this. A couple of weeks ago, before we broke out, we talked about this, and now look, it's up another 10%. Novavax up 24%. We talk about Guild, who also recently late last week, they broke the news that one of their coronavirus remedies, it's sort of a preemptive, sort of trial that they released the results on, being something that's going to help patients with COVID-19 recuperate from the virus. They've had some success with the drug, and so they released some new information about that, and the price just soared. It broke the hell out, all the way up to, what is this, $85, retesting this high here. And this was one of those plays that we talked about, right? That is going to be an important play going forward because they're so highly involved. And this is a reputable lab that is out there working on the COVID-19 vaccine or drug or any sort of remedy that they can come up with. So Guild, again, has been around for a while, and it's just a reputable lab that's sort of in the forefront of this whole COVID-19 remedy thing. Abbott Laboratories as well. I mean, just having a really nice. I mean, up above these, this is when things were going well, right? This is looking at the daily chart. This is when things are going well. The S&P and the Dow, all traditional markets were just kind of on an uptrend, and things were looking pretty darn good. And then COVID-19 broke out. We bottomed out here. I mean, and it looked just absolutely amazing. Just getting over this peak here. Was this the all-time high? Let's actually take a quick look. I believe so. I mean, it does look like that was the all-time high, right? This was the prior all-time high, and then voila, Abbott has also been on the news, telling of a story about they're also trying to come up with a remedy or a vaccine for COVID-19, and I mean they're definitely showing. We found that Vonda partnered up with University of Washington, I believe, last week, and I mean just having a nice reaction. They're also testing and trying to come up with a remedy for this COVID-19. So you've got a lot of labs, right? You got plenty of options here, and they're all up in the last couple of weeks. I mean, all of them, right? We talked about them here in this channel. I gave you the list. If you want the list, just leave it down in the comments. I can give you the list of all the stocks. I don't know if you can see it on the right of your screen there, but I've got the list of all the ones that I'm looking at, and there's probably more, but this is the list that I've been playing with, and so far it's been paying off pretty darn good. I know it's just one of those labs that it's been around for a long time, and has been doing quite well in the last couple of weeks. I mean, we saw this breakout, broke down from here, and now broke out of this triangle, trying to go up higher. So watch out for that. Not so much, not a whole lot of action with airlines. I did enter a trade last week in Boeing. Did pretty good, about 10.5% last week. Geez, running out of air there. We talked about some cruise lines, CCL, which is Carnival, and we also talked about Royal Caribbean Cruise, which again, once this subsides, everybody's going to go back to vacation, right? At some point. I'm not saying this is going to happen immediately after, just like states and businesses are not just going to hit a button and just go back to normal, right? This is going to be sort of a dwindling effect. And slowly but surely, we are going to recover from this, and we are going to go back to life as we knew it prior to this stupid bug. Oh my gosh. Anyway, how are you guys faring? Right? How are you guys doing with this quarantine thing? Please, let's talk about this. What have you guys been up to? Have you learned or picked up on new things? Maybe you've been trading more. Maybe you've been learning more about trading. Been successful. You've been taking some hits, whatever. Let's talk about this. Leave it down in the comments on the YouTube section. All right. All right. So that I believe that's all I wanted to talk about traditional markets. Let's actually get into the nitty gritty, what you guys came in here for, which is Bitcoin and crypto. I know you guys are really big on this sort of thing. So let's look at what Bitcoin's doing. Currently sitting at 68.82. I mean, there's this big line of resistance, right? That's coming up from all the way back in June 2019, summer of 2019, and things have just been, there's obviously this line of resistance here that Bitcoin's price just pierced through for a while and then just came back down underneath it, broke down way down below all the way to 37.5, and then came back above it, or came back and recovered, and now we're sitting at 6,800. I don't know why this thing keeps moving, but here's what we got so far, and we have this big long line of resistance there, obviously there. Now these things typically break down, right? This could be a bear flag in the making. It's a bit extended on a daily, but it could still happen. And we're quite a bit full here, so expect to move here pretty soon. Now, given the current situation of the market, let's see how things open up tomorrow for oil. I believe that oil is going to bounce back. Right, this is just my belief. Just like anything, what you want to see in any bottom is a long wick to the bottom. And if if you know, if anything, what we saw today is something very similar to this with oil markets, right? We did see a big long wick to the bottom, negative. I believe it went all the way negative to about 53, $55 per barrel on the futures market. And so we have this sort of action where we have a long wick to the downside and then a recovery right after it. That is usually indicative of a reversal, also indicative of a bottom, right? We want to see the opposite of a parabolic run is a doomsday fall, right? Where things just wick all the way down like this one here to 37.50 and then recovering, right? So it's very likely. And the other thing that you probably heard me mention here is that traditional markets are just way more reliable than crypto. Those rules apply. They're smoother. They are more reliable. They are truer to the market because there's more oversight. There's just more weight to those markets. So these things you can rely on. These technical indicators, these technicalities are more reliable. So um, we probably will see a big wick down in the oil markets and start a recovery. If we don't see that tomorrow, there's a good possibility again that the markets continue, especially S&P, Nasdaq. If these guys fall, then stocks are going to fall, right? Which lately one leads to the other. Crypto markets are going to fall as well, right? So look for a move downward, breaking below. And again, this is sort of a bear flag in the making. So I would not be surprised if we broke down below this triangle here. Not to worry because if anything, there is a big line of support coming in here from way back in the day, from December 2018, when we hit this bottom, and then we retested it again back in February of 2019. And then, so yeah, we have plenty of support coming in here. Although we breached below it, came back above it, and likely if we break down below it, it's very likely that we are going to make a stop somewhere around 5,800 first, 5,800, and then wick down below to 55.72 there. I saw some comments from some people on Twitter calling for a 1,000, about 1,000, $1,100 Bitcoin in the next couple of months. I don't know if that is actually in the play, especially with the halving coming up. I don't want to give too much hype to the halving because of these dire market conditions that we have been seeing for the last couple of months. So I don't know. I mean, I do ultimately long term, I do think that the halving is obviously going to play a big factor in the price of Bitcoin as it usually does. But remember also, this is a very young asset. It's only been in the market trading for 12 years. Well, actually trading under probably less than 12 years, right? But it's a very nascent asset, and so we have a short history of or short historical list of examples that we can look back to and refer and say, okay, well, the last two times it did this, right? So it's only the last two times. If Bitcoin had been around for 50 years, and there's about, I don't know, how many halvings can we fit in so 4 times, so 10, about 12 halvings or so, right? If we had 12 halvings, and we know for a fact that after each halving there's a big price surge, right? Then we know that to be an accurate statement. But we've only gone through two halvings. One, very nascent asset, very just immature asset class. Two, it is telling of the story of how early you are to this Bitcoin game, right? So feel pretty good about that. We've only gone through two halvings. This is the third. Um, so we'll see how things go. Again, long term, the halving will definitely play a role. I've said it in this channel not to get too future telling or anything like that, but I do believe that this, we'll see a price of Bitcoin in the 6,600 or 66,000. That is my bet. That is kind of where I'm pointing things. I've said this in this channel. You guys can go back and look through my material there and find the video if you want. But I do think that's going to be the next target. especially with these dire market conditions, it's going to be hard to get above 66,000 or 70,000 per Bitcoin. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I might be completely wrong. You guys can leave your predictions down in the comments if you'd like. It's always cool to see people's perspectives on that. So where are we going? Well, again, because of dire market conditions, look at the daily, look at the RSI, cross to the downside. We did get a bearish cross here on the RSI stochastic, phasing or just looking to find more room to the downside. In fact, let's see if we can identify a trend here, right? Something like that. And if we do see, and we're actually seeing it right now, there's a green exponential going below the red 21 EMA here within the stochastic. That's always a good momentum indicator there. There seems to be plenty of pressure to the downside. Again, just a terrible day within the market today. So we probably will see continuation. We would definitely want to see the price or the stochastic here and then bounce right at this line. If not, then we're definitely going to go back into the bearish territories and retest the bottom of this neutral zone here around 20 and a half. And you know, it just depends on what happens there. We might actually get into the bear control zone and see a massive sell-off. So that is on the daily here. If we go back to the chart, let's go to the 4 hour, see what we have immediately in front of us. I mean, 4 hours is the same, right? Rejected off of the neutral zone here, which it's again another indicator that we are going to see lower prices here, it looks like. And if we go and plot this sort of trend, look at that. We broke down below this. This is the daily. We just payment there, and now this is on the 4 hour. So I mean, definitely a trend breaking down below the trend here. Not a good thing. And then trying to get back above and back into the neutral zone, but rejected right there. And just finding more room to the downside. So definitely not a good sign. Momentum is on the bear side. It does look like we might have continuation to the downside. Again, not to worry too much. We do have this bottom area of support there. But it doesn't look like, you know, I wouldn't be counting on, you know, us going to 10K anytime soon. We do have the 200 coming in here as massive support. Always the 200, just a catalyst either way. If we reach above it or if we break down below it, it always leads to bigger moves, right? So watch out for the 200. I do think it's going to probably likely reject, especially if tomorrow we see a continuation of today's price action in traditional markets, because again there's been plenty of correlation happening. There you go. What did we see today? We sort of saw a run up from where we opened the S&P. You know, so if we look at the lower time frames, we can actually see that. Look at the let's just look at the 30-minute. You know, from where we opened up, price started to climb from here to here, and then just ended on a negative note, right? So, and what are we seeing here? We do see a downward price action here. What do we see with Bitcoin? Obviously the same thing, right? Look at that, more pronounced. Obviously there's always going to be more volatility within the crypto markets, so same kind of thing, right? So whatever one does, whatever traditional markets or Bitcoin does, is what the other one is going to probably likely do, right? Use those for your advantage. Let's see, Link. Let's take a look at Link. Same thing, following in whatever Bitcoin is doing. We did have a nice line of resistance here, but broke above it, now breaking down below it. It's trying to get above it and stay above it. I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen. Again, another big ticker, another big factor to look at is the 200 EMA here within the 4 hour. If we break below it, then you know what that means. I don't know what else you guys want to look at. What else you guys want to look at? Let's look at ETH. Same thing. RSI and confluence with Bitcoin, money's flowing out of it. Volume starting to come back, but you know, it's staying within staying within the exponential here of the volume exponential here. So that just indicative of that there's not enough momentum to bring the price back up into higher territories. Same thing for BNB being tamed by the 55. Did find support, excuse me, at the 200 SMA here, so that's a good thing. But I do think it's only temporary. These markets right now are pretty shaky, especially again just too much nonsense going on. Let's look at gold real quick. Also bouncing from the top here at about 164. Looking at Spider Gold Trust at around 165, we'll call it, resting above the 21. Now, all this stimulus money, all this helicopter money flying around is just going to put it's going to put downward pressure on the price of the dollar, right? And I've said this, right? If you guys have been here long enough, I did a few videos, last summer, 2019, the summer of 2019, right around June, when Bitcoin started to surge. Let's actually look at Bitcoin. This will be a good thing to talk about right now. Back in June, we saw this massive run, and if anything, Bitcoin was sort of the signal, right, for a lot of investors. We did see a lot of investors switching over to gold, and let's look at gold, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong or not. But look at 2018, May 2019. That's kind of when things got really interesting for Bitcoin. We started seeing that massive run back in April, and so we also saw that within the gold market, right? May, April, so right around here, April, we saw that Bitcoin started to run way up, all the way to 13.9, and then we also saw this with gold. So, we've always said that gold and commodities in general, when the dollar's not doing too well, when the market is not doing too well, then people switch over to Bitcoin or to gold. And the same thing, is the same narrative is flies around within the crypto sphere, right? Everybody and their grandfather who's a crypto enthusiast will tell you that it is a uncorrelated or non-correlated asset, talking about Bitcoin, and whatever the markets do, then Bitcoin's going to be your safe haven. So if the markets crash, then you want to put your money in gold and Bitcoin. I mean, not so true now, right? We're seeing a lot of correlation. We're seeing that it's not a safe haven, especially with the coronavirus. We have definitely seen that. We can definitely say that it is not a safe haven. It is not necessarily a place where you want to put your money because it's going to hedge against losses. No, it's not. It's going to go where the market is going. We've seen that, and this is again the same conversation that I had with you guys the last summer. Was there's a big test coming for Bitcoin, and I'll look for the video and maybe post it in the section, the comment section. I'll look for that video. You guys can watch it or link to it. Maybe on the next video I can put a link to this, and so you guys can go back and fact check me. But I was talking about how there is a shift in investor mindset, and people were flocking away from traditional markets and the U.S. dollar back into gold. And look at that. I mean, we started seeing the big surge last year during the summer, where gold just went absolutely ballistic, and it keeps on going, right? This is the coronavirus effect, and then a huge recovery, way back above all-time high here, just kind of like we saw with some of these pharmaceutical stocks, way above this previous high here, and then we also saw it with Bitcoin too, right? Some people were putting their money in Bitcoin and gold, which again fit the narrative back then of being an uncorrelated safe haven. Not so much right now. We know that's just not the case in current times, right? But back then there was a trend of people just going away from the dollar and stocks and going into Bitcoin. People have definitely stayed in gold. People have, this is just one of those assets that's been proven in history time and time over again. And so this is more reliable. This is more of a true ward tested asset that people definitely have a lot more trust in. So that's where they put their money more into gold than crypto assets. And it just sounds like the right thing to do. Honestly, it really does. Maybe in a couple more decades we'll be able to say the same thing about Bitcoin. But just think about how early you are, right? That's the good thing about this. That's the positive takeaway from this. All right, guys. So that is all that I have for you guys tonight. It's good to talk to you guys. It's good to be here. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully, you guys are staying safe, staying healthy. Yeah, just leave it down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys want me to look at something specifically, let me know. Put it down in the comments. All right, guys. Hope you got something in exchange for your time tonight. Appreciate you being here. Please share, like, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks.